Hey my loves, so I know that I have been telling you that this video was coming for about a month, over a month now. As I gathered new information, I went through different emotions. Astonishment, like wait what? Like the more astonished I became, the deeper I dug, and it is so true. You have to be so careful of the things that you ask for. So careful of the doors that you go knocking on, because you do not know if whether or not you are going to be able to handle the answers that you find. So with that being said, be very, very, very careful walking through this door and watching this video, because the things that you will uncover here will blow your mind. Let's go. So you guys saw my initial video and I'll add it here. Actually, I think I'm gonna take that video from that channel and put it here. You guys watch that because it'll explain my whole spiritual awakening process up until where I'm at right now. I just want you to do something for me. Imagine right now a place where, you know, every woman is equal. We are just as powerful, if not more powerful than men. Our bodies are glorified. The curves in our body aren't those things that we feel so like ashamed of, okay? And the twist in our hips, all of this swinging that we do with our neck is not something that we have to be ashamed of or something that we have to push down. It is something glorified, okay? Well, just know, a time like that actually existed for thousands and thousands of years, but it was taken from you. All of the records of that time were taken from you, and you were giving something else in a different package that made you fearful and afraid to go looking and digging for the essence of who you truly were. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. Let's talk about Egypt. So for the most part, anytime you hear, before I say any of this, I am completely and totally aware that there is more excellence outside of Egypt, okay? Nubia and things of that nature. We'll get to that in a second, okay? But we're starting with Egypt because that's where things started, okay? Okay. As you guys know from my other channel, I'm growing my hair out and I didn't do my hair today, and I was like, I'm just gonna put my hair wrap on. For the most part, whenever you talk about history or Black history, when we have Black History Month, the only thing in American culture that is presented to us is slavery. Now, please understand, I am not in no way, shape, or form, in any way, shape, or form, belittling slavery or anything like that. However, the only thing that we coincide with Black history is slavery. That is it. And in my opinion, it was the intention of, you know, these peoples that we're about to talk about, to make sure that that is the only type of history that we know about ourselves. Because baby, if you went digging a little deeper, what you would find would present you with the excellence that is you. Now, one thing that has always been crazy to me, I'm like, okay, if all of the Egyptians were, if we were in Africa and all of the Egyptians were Black, why were, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's up with Cleopatra? Why is, and I remember having not an argument with somebody, but like a conversation with somebody, and they were like, but Cleopatra did have straight hair. And I'm like, wait, what? So I began to do my research. But keep in mind, with me growing up in Christianity and stuff like that, it's like you are kept in this small circuit where it's certain things that you just don't go do research about. And then if you start to research, you'll get questions. Don't ask questions. Don't question God. And here is why. I'm gonna get to where Cleopatra came from in a second, but way before Cleopatra, because Cleopatra came right before Rome took over Egypt. Cleopatra was Greek. Okay, and Cleopatra was in reign and in rule. She was the last one before the Roman Empire took over, and the Roman Empire is still in control today, and we're gonna get, thus Christianity, and we're gonna get to that soon, okay? But let's start with Hatshepsut. I became so I don't want to say obsessed, but so infatuated with this woman who actually existed, who actually walked this earth. So Hatshepsut, her time was before Cleopatra. She was you. She was the essence. She looked like you. She was the essence of who you are. So let's talk about her. This is when Hatshepsut was in reign, okay? She was one of the first and the most, for her time up to that date, the most successful pharaoh, okay? And she reigned for over 20 years. So let's talk a little bit about her. So I ain't gonna lie, to begin with, the way it started off is a little weird, little Tiggerati, it is a little weird, because Hatshepsut, she, you know, back then, and it wasn't just Egyptian culture, this was how they did things. They wanted to keep things in the family, so if it was brother and sister around the same age, they would, okay. So Hatshepsut, she had a brother, and so her brother got the throne, but she's like, I want to be pharaoh, okay? I want to be pharaoh. So her and her brother get married. Her and her brother gets married. So even though her brother was pharaoh, not really, you know. So up in a couple years after his reign, he ended up passing away. Well, one of his wives had a son, okay? Mind you, in their culture, it wasn't just like, oh, men doing whatever they want to do, and women. No, she had her stuff too, her Tiggerati too, okay? So that was just their culture. That's not really the point, okay? Her brother passes away only a couple of years into their reign, but of course they needed to keep everything in the family. So her brother had a son, but his son was a baby. So what she did was she basically pulled off this thing where she was like, for lack of a better way to explain it in modern day terms, she was like her nephew's caretaker. So she was able to speak for him, to make all of the decisions for him, which in turn made her pharaoh, okay? So of course that was dope, and a lot of people would have been cool with that, but she was like, no, like, I'm not okay with that. I need more than that. So there was other things that went into it, but she ended up being crowned pharaoh. At this point, even though women got respect and they respected the heck out of their women and all of that, still, like, they just expected, you know, the pharaoh to have big broad shoulders and beards. Beards were looked at as divine and connected to God and all of that. I love beards, yes. She's a woman. She's like, I don't have no beard, but that's what y'all want? Okay. Do you know she went and got a beard? I don't mean like grew one out. I mean, she basically, you know how people get lace fronts? Yeah, she got a lace front beard. How everybody wearing their lace front beards now? Hatshepsut was the first one with a lace front beard, honey, yes. So she got her a little beard or whatever, and she would rule on the throne with her beard. She ruled for 20 years, okay? All of her stuff still stands right now at this very second. So she is not a mythical being, a mythical creature by any stretch of the imagination. To date, some of her tombs and everything else can still, like, they still cannot reformulate them. The tallest building in Egypt, I'm gonna leave the exact information for it here, but in the Bible they talk about it, but they talk about it in a way like it's something that's gonna happen one day. Well, the thing that this scripture right here in the Bible is explaining already stands and has been standing there in Egypt for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years, over 10,000 years before Jesus of Nazareth was ever brought into fruition, okay? Before it was ever written down. A lot of text that they still have right now quotes her as, she will be a conqueror, flaming against her enemies, okay? Like, yes, and not, honey, she went to war with her people. Like, with her army, she used to get up there and ride out with them and fight with them. She had scars on her face from battle. It was not a game, okay? This was a strong, powerful black woman, and you're not gonna tell me that Hatshepsut did not have a twist in her neck. You're not gonna tell me that, baby. You're just not. You can go right now and hold this tangibly in your hand. Oh, it's thunder. Can you hear it? You can hold this tangibly in your hand. You can hold it. So Hatshepsut used to love myrrh oil. She used to love myrrh oil. Now, where do we hear about frankincense and myrrh? We hear about frankincense and myrrh in the Bible, yeah. We're not going there today. I just want to talk about your excellence as a woman. We're gonna go there, just not today. She used to make myrrh oil herself in her own, you know, in her little vanity, or whatever you want to call it, in her vanity. And mind you, this vanity you can still walk into at this very second, And right here on the screen, what I'm playing right here on the screen, or what's popping up on the screen, whether I do a video or picture, is her actual little thingamajigger of myrrh oil, where she used to take the stone and grind it and make her own myrrh oil. When they went into her tomb and they found her crushed myrrh oil, listen to what she said about it. After she would apply the oil, she used to say the same thing. And this is something that, I mean, if you knew the language, that you could go stand inside of her tomb and read for yourself. As she rubbed it on, she used to say, "Gleam like the stars before the whole land." Talking to her melanin, honey, yes. Please, Black woman, the reason that all of our stuff is buried and all of our stuff is so far underneath is because if they can keep you looking at yourself as less than, if they can keep you feeling like you have to cover up yourself and you have to cover up your curves because, oh, you're fast, and why is it that so many Black women, so many curvy Black women share the same childhood story as me? Like, I started to develop maybe like 5th grade. By 5th grade, I had curves, and everybody was purely convinced that my curves were simply aftermath of me being sexually active. So it's like, ooh, she fast. If it's a girl, if it's a Black woman with any type of curve or anything like that, you're looked at as like, oh, you're fast. Or if you're lighter complected, you think you're better. Or if you're darker complected, oh, you're really pretty for a brown skinned girl. Listen, there is a history that waits for you, waiting for you to uncover it. But my love, for you to uncover the history of who you are, you have to accept the fact that your history has been buried. Have you ever taken the time to really research the contents of where you're from? Whether you're originally from Egypt, whether you're Nubian, whether you're Ethiopian, whatever that may be, okay? Have you ever thought about the fact that Africa is the biggest continent in the world? So we hear that all the time, and I'm only speaking for myself. We hear all the time that Africa is the biggest continent in the entire world, right? But we don't take into account how large and how vast Africa is, okay? The Sahara Desert is the size of the United States and Australia put together. That is the size of the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert is the size of the United States and Australia put together, you guys. That's how big the Sahara Desert is. Yeah, there's a show on Netflix. I'm gonna put a clip right here. I will, just for you. I'm gonna put a clip right here. In Africa, there's a certain place in Africa, I put it right here, and it's dry land all on top. It's dry land, right? But then under, as they went digging deeper, doing their research, because they can't figure out where all this stuff is coming from in Africa. They can't explain anything, like, because water out of nowhere would just come up from the ground, like, and then just create a lake, like bam, like right there. Make sure you watch Africa on Netflix. Watch it, please. We don't know our history. We don't know any of it. And we don't look, because it's not hard to find at all. But let's make it make sense, okay? Let's make it make sense. Now, Hatshepsut, I was talking about her. She was 1505 BC. But in 1187 BC, we had Ramses III. Now, just be really cautious. And I really want you to think about all of this stuff and write all of this down, because everybody that I am about to name, everything that I am about to name right now, we have watched movies about. We've watched movies about this. Some of our favorite movies were telling us what our history was and who we were, but we weren't even paying attention because we're like, oh, this is entertainment. No, it's not. It's all been hiding in plain sight. They stole our history from us, and then they've been dangling it in front of our face, making hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars off of the history that they stole from us, and we're paying them and making them rich by buying movies about the history that they fucking stole. Ramses III, excellent. He was a great pharaoh, but got a little greedy. Got a lot greedy. You know how we go on strike and stuff now and everybody start picketing? Baby, they've been doing that since the beginning of time. His workers, everybody who was building his pyramids and stuff like that, they were not slaves. They were working for him. So just like you go work at Caesar's Palace if you live in Vegas, same thing. Okay, so they was working for him, and they had their own like little corridors where they lived, just like now the millionaires live up in the suburbs. And then we got, well, not we, but you know, there's the projects and stuff like that. Same thing, same exact thing, right? Sorry bro, I ain't trying to be like talking about you and stuff, but you did kind of mess it up. I'm just saying. Wanted the biggest everything, right? The most extravagant everything, but it was taking money, of course. So instead of him figuring out something to do and like doing all of the trading things, all of the amazing things that Hatshepsut did. If y'all want to get into, like, if you want me to do a series on like Egyptian goddesses and stuff like that, the ones that actually existed, then we can. But anywho, I'm gonna be skating over most of the facts, and if you want me to go really deep into any area and give you names and dates, then I will. Just leave it in the comments below, okay? And by this time they start having priests, right? They start having priests. Now, all of the priests were not Egyptian. They were not black. And proof of this, and a lot of the documentation, once again, let me know, and a lot of the documentation, the priests, they would get up really early in the morning, and they would shave all of the hair off of their body, all of the hair. Why would they do that? The text says that they did it so they would not get lice. It's only a certain, everybody don't get lice. Yeah. So anyway, Ramses, he already was losing the love and the trust of the people, because like, instead of him giving them food and their rations and everything that he was supposed to give them, he was putting all of that money back into building his own stuff, right? So they were going on strike, like literally picketing, like, we're not working, we're not building anything for you because you're not giving us food. So he had something coming up, he got a little attitude, so he like, okay, here y'all go. And he gave them like biscuits or something. Mind you, they're hungry, they're starving, he gives them biscuits. So of course they're pissed. Everybody's losing faith in them, and then the priests are getting more and more arrogant as he loses the love of everybody else, right? So anywho, it's one guy. Like I said, I'll leave all of the, we'll go deep into this if you want, but he it was one of the priests, and he writes one of his little imps, and he tells them, hey, okay, well, I need you to do something for me. I got a mission for you. I need you to break into all of the tombs. And he already knew, because the priests, they had gotten so interlocked with everything because Ramses wasn't paying attention. He had other motives, right? He knew how to get in. They break into all of these tombs, right? And here on the screen are actual videos. This is an actual picture. Make sure you guys watch the video in the description box below. There are actual videos. We can literally go there together and walk in and touch these things. All here on the screen, these are the baskets that he was housing everything. This is the room that still exists today, okay, that he was going and taking all of the things that he was stealing out of the tombs, okay? Mind you, Egyptians took all their stuff with them, okay? So it was so much money, like equivalent to hundreds and millions and billions of dollars worth of stuff they were stealing out of all of these tombs. And then after once they took all the stuff out of the tombs, and when I say that, I'm talking about jewels, scriptures, artifacts, all the texts, everything. They took everything, okay? And then they unwrapped the bodies, because the bodies were like wrapped in gold. So they took that, and then they just threw them over in the corner. So there are so many Egyptian pharaohs and gods and goddesses that we will never know anything about until we start digging deeper. Of course, a lot of things are coming up now because they were super smart, but that's what happened, okay? And remember who did that? The priests. They got lice if they ain't shave their stuff, okay? So from that point on, he really, like Egypt's continents just began to fall down, and that was the beginning of the end. Ramses was pharaoh from 1187 BC to 1156 BC, okay? So, and that's my husband. He's not gonna say anything, but you guys say hi. So, and I have to be quiet because now my kids are taking a nap. So in 945 BC, the priests were basically taken over at this point. You can even look at like the ancient scripts and stuff that the priests were writing. They were purposely like putting themselves like they were standing on a platform or something higher than the Egyptians, right? Because they were like elevating their stuff like, okay, I'm way more powerful than you. Mind you, this is 945 BC after Ramses. So after like Ramses' whole reign and a couple people before that, like they was all tripping, but that's where stuff started getting shaky. So after like the priests were in dominion for a little bit, but then in 800 BC, Egypt was conquered by Nubia. Now, y'all need to go do y'all research on Nubia, because Nubia ain't no joke either, okay? Nubia ain't no joke either. Nubians are and they come in all different colors. I actually, like, as I dig into Nubian culture and stuff, like, everybody needs to dig more deep into it, because when you see a black woman my complexion or anything like that, you just automatically go like, oh, well, she must have some type of European mix. But if you go all the way back to Nubia and in Egyptian cultures, we come in all different shades, and it's not like women who are my complexion just have to be mixed with something else European. It's not true. Do your research on Nubia. That'll be another video. So, like I said, in 800 BC, Egypt was conquered by Nubia, okay? And so, keep in mind that everything about Egypt was so alluring and so beautiful. They had mastered so many things. We'll talk about that later. They had mastered so many different things that the people that conquered, they were overtaken by Egypt, and they didn't just conquer it and like, okay, now it's mine. They pretended to be Egyptians. And then in 700 BC, the Assyrians attacked. Now the Assyrians are nuts. They were freaking nuts, okay? They didn't really want to be Egyptians. They just murdered. They just want to kill everybody and take everybody money. And it was a known fact that Egypt was what we don't know. Like, we have no idea what Egypt really was. We still don't know. Ooh, thunder and lightning. That's so weird. But like, we don't even know the truth about Africa. We don't even know all about Nubia. We don't even know all about Egypt. So there are so many different things that we don't know. But the Assyrians, Egypt was that place that everybody wanted to hone in on. Mind you, it wasn't just at this moment that people tried to attack Egypt, but their continents had fallen when all of the tombs were attacked and all of their culture and all of that stuff was taken from them. Their continents just fell. And to me, that's what made them weak, okay? So the Assyrians take over. They're like nut jobs, okay? Once again, there's a movie about this. Yes, there's a movie about this. Yes, there is. Then in 600 BC, the Persians took over. Now there's a movie about this. 300. Yeah, the movie 300, as well as the video game Assassin's Creed. If you play the video game Assassin's Creed, it literally maps out everything, and the person who alerted me on that was my girl Ra. Hey Rashava, hey. So she's the one who like alerted me to that and got me looking at that. I'm like, holy shit, like literally everybody that I'm about to list is in Assassin's Creed, and it happened in this order. 100 BC, the Persians attacked, okay? And so the Persians were in control, and you know, whatever. Everybody attacked, they stole gold, like whatever, and then they stole pieces of Egyptian spirituality, religion, and everything like that, and then they took it back to their place and reformatted it as their own. But that's what happened, okay? In 400 BC came Alexander the Great, okay? Now, we've heard about Alexander the Great for a long time, and it's so funny because prior to this, now I ain't gonna lie, Detroit public schools sometimes, depending on the one you go to, I wasn't paying attention properly, obviously, because everybody knew about Alexander the Great, but I wasn't paying attention. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just not. So, Alexander the Great was Greek, right? But mind you, I've always was so infatuated by Greek culture, and I did not know why. I was even talking to my girl, like, why am I so infatuated with Greek culture? And it was so crazy to the point where I did a search on my name. So my name is Cynthia, and as I was doing my research, it's Greek. right? I'm like, how is Cynthia Greek? Because most people would think that it's Mexican, because there are a lot of Mexican girls named Cynthia. And so the name Cynthia actually comes from, it's actually the name of a Greek goddesses, or I don't know if you call her a goddess or like a queen or whatever they're, you know, whatever. And she named her daughter Cynthia after a mountain that still stands today called Cynthia, whatever. I'm gonna put the spelling right here, and here's a picture of the mountain, and it's Greek. And I was like, oh my god, that is so weird. But I'm like, what does that have to do with me, like, you know? So anyway, Alexander the Great comes into fruition. So he conquers the Persians. The movie 300, he the one who conquered the Spartans and got Egypt, all that stuff. Yeah, that really freaking happened. So Alexander the Great ended up changing his name, and he became, under that name, he became a pharaoh of Egypt. Okay, so then when you get Cleopatra and all the, Cleopatra was Greek. Okay, Cleopatra was not African, she was Greek. She came with some of the ones that had conquered Egypt. Okay, that's why she was a white woman with, or that's why she had straight hair with beads in her hair, because as they overtook Egypt, they got overtaken by Egypt's spirituality. They got overtaken by the beauty of Egypt. Okay, and they wanted to look Egyptian. They would gloss their skin in different herbs that made their skin look darker. They would braid their hair and emulate locks and things of that nature, and put jewels in their hair to emulate Egyptians, okay? And after Cleopatra dies, because around the time with Cleopatra, the Roman Empire was coming back and forth. In my opinion, the Roman Empire had their hands in with the priests from way back when everything first started to break down. Okay, so whenever Cleopatra fell, whenever Cleopatra died, after Cleopatra died, the Greeks were conquered by the Romans, and the Romans conquered Egypt and took over Egypt, and the Romans are still in control today, thus the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, because when you look into Egyptian culture in every way, shape, or form, like even with the Kainites, and when everything started to break down, where everybody started to go, like when you really do your research, we're like Israel, and we're thinking Israel. No, Israel is the acronym for Isis, El, and the god Ra. So they all started to migrate once the Roman Empire took over Egypt, and they went, most of them went to Israel. Okay, most of them went to different places. So please know who you are. Hatshepsut, one of her towers, and we're gonna end it here, and we're gonna have to pick up on another video because we will be here all day. So Hatshepsut, one of her tall towers, her tallest towers, okay, it was to her father, and she didn't mean her biological father, she meant the one who made me, like my father, right, her heavenly father. So that's how, remember that tower that I told you Hatshepsut had built, right, to her father? Well, guess who her father was? Her father was the god of moon. Okay, name right here. So when you really do your research, and when I say dig, I mean dig deep, like dig. When you do your research, the god of moon is the god of all, he's the god of all of the gods, right? He's also known as the hidden god. He's known as the hidden god, but he's like, you know, if you really just need something tangible, if you just really need to see me, you really need something tangible, then look to my son Ra. So I'm in Ra. Okay, yeah. So when Rome took over Egypt from the Greeks, they started changing everything, and then they started looking into all of the ways that the Egyptian put their spirituality, and they took from that and switched everything around. Okay, just like the Kainites, they worship the god Asherah. The goddess. She's in the Bible. Yeah, she's in the Bible. Remember how, like, they're always like, oh, God has a wife. It was her. Yeah, but it was taken from another culture. That's why you can't explain it, because when the Canaanites came over, they worshipped the goddess Asherah. Like, she's the mother of, we'll go there later, because that's a whole nother video, Like, with God walking on water, this blew my mind because I love God so much, so it hurt me so bad. That's why it's been so long since I made a video, because I had to get to a place where I wasn't hurt and angry, okay? But these are facts. Like, we can't argue about it. We got the Bible written at this time, but then is this right here with the goddess Asherah? She walked on water. She was known as the Lady of the Water, she who treads on water. She had her helpmates were fishermen. One of them got on the water and their feet began to sink down under the water, and she said, come here. Mind you, all of these facts, all of these things were documented 10,000 years before Jesus, before the Hebrews ever wrote the Bible. She walked on water in the same exact way. And all of her helpmates, they were all different fishermen. Them saddling her up for a donkey ride, all of that, it already happened, guys. So I'm just sitting here like, how do I introduce this to people? How do I introduce this to my people? Because the people that they stole it from are the people who cling to it the hardest. We stop talking to our families. We're like, oh, you're going to hell because you're gay, or you like the opposite sex, you're attracted to the opposite sex, you're going to hell for this. God doesn't like this. God doesn't like this. Jesus this, Jesus that. They made it up. They made it up. Do your research. It's crazy to me, and that's why I didn't make the video right away, because I had to figure out a way to put it in the type of frame where people would be able to accept it slowly, where I could take baby steps, because baby spirit did not give it to me like that. I was like, you know. And it's so crazy because we literally think that we're brought to this world and we're victims of this world. There's only us. There's only one God. They say the word Elohim quite a few times. And in Christianity, we think that Elohim means God. No, it does not. When you look up the actual meaning and the actual translation of the word Elohim, the word Elohim means the gods with an S. Yeah, that's what the word Elohim means. The word Elohim does not mean God. So the word Elohim is present in Genesis, where it says Elohim made XYZ. That literally says the gods made XYZ. But when Rome took over Egypt had slowly, as a different set conquered Egypt. Mind you, everybody that wanted to conquer Egypt wanted to be in complete and total power. And the way that everything was actually set up at the time made it so they couldn't be 100% in power, because how can I be 100% in power when there are all of these different gods? Just made one. They just made one God, and then they made up this whole story because the Egyptians had already had the whole solar system and everything put out together, and they took the 12 planets and made 12 disciples. And just, you guys, do your research, and I'm gonna leave some links in the description box below so you guys can go start searching and digging for yourselves. And I'm gonna give you all maybe like a week or so, and after a week or so, I'll feel in my heart like you guys have really done digging for yourself, and that we'll all be at a mental place where we can all accept it and we're all open to hear everything. Because listen, I believe that the reason that we are all in this place is because they stole the truth from you. So they know the truth, but you don't know. And they know that As long as they can keep you believing that you're less than, and that if you try to find out who you are, that you will be damned to hell and you will burn forever if you ask the one who made you one question. They lead you with fear, because in fear you won't ask. And if you won't ask, you won't knock. And if you don't knock, the door won't be open. And if the door doesn't open, you never find out the truth about who you are. But I implore you to knock. I implore you to dig, because times are changing, baby. This isn't the time frame where we're like, okay, ask and don't tell. Like, oh, we're not gonna ask no questions. What happens at home stays at home. No, it doesn't, because this doesn't make sense. In this era, we ask why, and we're not gonna stop asking why until we get answers. So I implore you to ask why. And after you ask why, who is that person you're gonna ask why? You. Because they took stuff. They took facts and tried to muster it up. The kingdom of heaven is in you. That was stolen, but it's true. It's in you. You're the key. You. So you have to look deeper and dig, because they know that if they can keep your continence down, they can keep you down. That's why with welfare, Medicaid, and all that stuff, everybody's in the same area. You for the most part, you ain't living. It's now things are changing where Section 8 housing can be right up in Rose Ridge and right up in different places that are nice. But before, everybody on Section 8 was over here. They were all over here in this one spot. So if everybody was over here in this one spot, all of the poverty is there. All of the poverty is there, so they can rule over there. As long as you don't know. As long as you don't ask. And you just sit there and you believe that you are here to suffer. Because that's what you believe. You believe that you're here to suffer, and that you are going to live life, a mediocre life while you're here. And then one day, you're going to store up so much treasure here on this earth that when you die, if you're a real good one, because if you're not good, you're going to go to hell, you're going to burn forever. But if you real good, you're gonna get your heaven in the sky. Well, let me say this. I believe that you will get heaven in the sky, but heaven is also here, because heaven is what you make it. That's why the Egyptians were able to do things that we still cannot wrap our mind around today, because they were on a level of consciousness that we have not hacked into, because we have no desire to hack into it. We still believe that we are the dirt. And as long as you believe that you are the dirt, then that's what you'll create. And the thing about this is, I'm not saying don't believe that you're the dirt. I'm saying understand what you're saying when you say that you're the dirt, and understand what the dirt is. Because we think that the dirt means like, oh, you're low. I'm sorry, but what grows if it's not in soil? The most beautiful things sprout up out of the soil. So I am saying, let that thing that is itching, that why, that part of you that wants to know why, that part of you that doesn't understand, that part of you is like, no, there has to be more than this. There is. Dig into that part of you that is thirsty is quenched. And don't stop digging until you find your answers, because I'm going to tell you, I am only going to be a guide for you. I will not unlock it for you. You have to unlock it for yourself. Dig. And we will be back in a week, and we will see where everybody is. I really hope that this went over okay for everybody. Lastly, I know somebody's going to ask. I do not fall into any type of spiritual title whatsoever. I am not Christian. I am not non-denominational. I'm Muslim. Nothing. There is not a category you can put me in. I am. Okay? And I create whatever I want to create, and I believe in me. And I say that because I know that everything that God is, I am the essence of. Okay? So yeah, everything is here. We're all looking for some type of external thing that's going to pull us up out of our misery, but nothing that's going to pull you out of your misery but you. You have to dig deep within inside of yourself, because you have every answer, but you have to kill all of those things that have kept us bound. And it's not until you do that that you can elevate. It's just as simple as that. It's just as simple as that. And they make it look so hard. They make it look so hard. You need this. You need this person. No, you don't. You need you. You. That's it. Because before I turned this camera on, I sat here and I communed with the God that lives in me. Not out here in you. Yeah, in you. So make sure you dig deep, and we'll be back in a week.